702. Finance Feature.
8 minutes to 2 o'clock in our finance feature for today. Beautifully tied into the conversation we'll be having in our masterclass on debt collection, businesses and agencies and the rules and all those things. We talk about the Money Stress Tracker 2026, and we're joined by Benay Sager, Executive Head of DebtBusters. Audible 1330702 and the WhatsApp line 0727021702. Benay, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Benay, just in terms of the Money Stress Tracker, I mean, beyond what we already know, I saw somebody sharing that their salary used to last them a month, and now his salary is not even lasting him a week. Can you paint a picture of what the reality is for many at the moment?
Yeah, I think you just, that probably sums up very well. I think what we are seeing with the Money Stress Tracker, when you survey people, of course, they tell you a range of interesting things. What we see is there's definitely a cost of living crisis. We may call it something else. You may know it by different names, inflation, electricity costs increase, petrol, this, that, and when you put all of that together, they are really creating a cost of living crisis. Our pockets are not as deep as they used to be, and certainly not really lasting. Things are a lot more expensive, and I think that's really reflecting also with administered costs, whether we're paying for water or electricity or rates or everything else. What we're also seeing is, unfortunately, we're finding our youngest generation to be the most financially anxious. I mean, we know there are a number of drivers for this. We know that particularly for young people in the age of AI, it's a bit difficult to get a foothold in the job market. And I think that, coupled with the increase we just talked about, the cost of living crisis, it appears to be creating a lot more anxiety in our young people, particularly those under the age of 25. And they reported the highest increase in terms of stress levels when it comes to finances. So that's kind of like a few beyond the obvious, as you would say, things that we picked up. And I think they're both important, particularly the importance for younger people, because they're going to be working for another 30, 40 years. And we don't want them to be demotivated purely because of, some trends that are happening.
This Money Stress Tracker has been released for around 5 years. In terms of what you're seeing in this latest one, what is the most shocking insight, and just from the 18,000 respondents and some of the data that you were able to collect?
I guess it depends on how we define shocking. I think many of the things were expected. Perhaps, maybe I'll pick two things. One shocking to the negative side, and one shocking to the positive side, if there is such a thing. From a negative perspective, I think we were surprised that the debt repayment pressure has increased on the respondents, and particularly why we were surprised is because there had been a bit of a relief in the form of interest rates over the last few years, and we were actually surprised that seems to have worsened. Now we had about 43% of the people reporting that they spend more than 40% of their take-home pay. Last year it was 48%. So we were surprised by this. Maybe not shocked, but definitely surprised. On the other side, in a positive note, we were positively surprised to see that the percent of people when, what are you doing for alleviate your money stress? And some of them said, we haven't really done something. And when asked, why haven't you done something? Normally you get a good, about 1/4 of the people to say, well, I'm really embarrassed to ask for help. We were surprised positively to see that percentage has now gone down to 12% instead of 23%. So that's good in the sense that it's allowing us, you and I, to have this conversation, and to make sure people feel that it's okay to ask for help. And I think what's most important is to talk about your financial situation with those that are closest to you, because I think bottling it up inside is not good. And I'm pleased to see that more people, or rather less people, are embarrassed to ask for help. Hopefully that will translate into us having conversations with all of the people around us who are, of course, going to be impacted by our finances, but also to alleviate some of the stress that we may be carrying ourselves ourselves.
And I think you've touched on so many things there. I mean, if we're looking at the fact that people are spending so much on debt repayments, what is something that you think South Africans can start to do today based on the data that you have? Because there are people who are like, what's Khwatswana in English? It doesn't make a difference. So
Yes.
it doesn't make it. So if they say, well, switch from Jacobs or the expensive coffee to something like Brew Coffee or Frisco. And then people are like, but it doesn't actually make a significant difference. So now you're not
Yes.
just poor, you're also stressed about not enjoying your coffee. I'm curious about what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so I don't want to comment on specific coffees. We all have our vices. I think it's important to drink a coffee that's very tasteful, or tea, or whatever you choose. I think practically, because you asked for practical things. I mean, let's talk about a few examples. Side hustles. I know many of us have them. I think it's good. Understand what those around you may need, and it's never too late to start something that you think is interesting. Because what you need to think about is, what am I good at? I'm better than some other people, and what can I offer to those around me? You may be able to make a bit of money when it comes to that. We talk about income generating ideas. Then we talk about managing our expenses. And I think here we want to talk about this concept of value maxing, as the younger generation will call it. Lots of benefits that we can derive in terms of cashback programs from retailers, insurance companies, and all of that. Find the ones that you're most comfortable with. Find the ones where you understand the terms and conditions, which is very important. And join those programs where you believe that it will give you the biggest bang for your buck. If you are, unsure of it, then obviously ask people around you. If you are in the business of buying stuff and selling, there are lots of timing things that you can do in terms of buying things. For example, buying stationery that is, not towards the end of the year or towards the beginning of the year when everybody else is buying stationery for your kids. It may be cheaper to buy it during the off-peak time. So these are some tips. Understand what portion of your income is going to your bank charges. I think this is really important, often hidden because we do individual transactions, but do look at your 1 month of monthly statement and understand actually how much did I pay for my bank charges put together last month, and is that something I can change by either changing my behavior or bank account. Same with other subscriptions. Life happens, we evolve, and we add other things, and we usually forget about some of these subscriptions, and sometimes we have multiple that we may not need. So review your subscriptions.
And I'm glad that you're saying that, and the best way, of course, go through those bank statements, go through and see where every cent is going. I'm going to have to leave it there, Benay, but thank you so much for speaking to us, Executive Head of DebtBusters.